Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. This is one of the second episodes that we're going to be doing in a series that we're doing right now, all about vision and how do we use vision and the True Voice process to increase the quality and the intensity and the value of every relationship that we find ourselves in. Today, we've got some special topics and ideas to cover. Hopefully, we'll have an extremely valuable discussion as more of you begin to log on and participate. I think you're going to have a full day, a full afternoon of grand engagement and opportunity that I think we can be able to share with a whole lot of people. Today's session, as always, is being recorded and it's being broadcast over Facebook as well as YouTube, and it'll be recorded for posterity. So people who follow me on Facebook or YouTube can see it there. Obviously, I will be rebroadcasting it on LinkedIn and in various different places, social broadcast elements as we continue to move forward. I see we got a couple people logging on, and as you log on, do me a favor and post in the chat if you can, where you're from, how you found us, um, maybe what you're looking for to today's topic. If there's some way you'd like to have an introduction to your business or anything that you're doing, feel free to put that information in the chat. If there's links that you want to share, if there's information that you want to share, ways of getting in contact with you. We're very entrepreneur friendly, and we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to present their best selves in the forum. And so as you log on, feel free to put whatever information in the chat, and we will keep the party going. Um, Again, this is going to be a pretty detailed episode on the first element of the True Voice process. And we're going to be talking about vision today. We're going to be discussing every possible aspect, at least that I can think about, of vision. And if there's anything that you could think about when it comes to vision and how it's important, feel free to again share it in the chat. Feel free to communicate. We're looking forward to a high level of engagement with everyone. If you need to, definitely follow up with me. All of my contact information is in the scroll below, so you'll start to see ways to join my website or communicate to me via LinkedIn or Facebook, or you can even text message me or call me with any questions that you have about today's discussion. If you don't feel like you want to post any information in the chat or anything, they can always call me later on and we can discuss whatever you like at any time. So that means if you're watching this show at some point in the future and you want to reach out to me, feel free to do so. I'm open and I'm available. I like to have as much engagement as possible. And so that's something that's really important to me. Let me tell you a little bit about me before we get started with the show today. I love SWAM businesses. I focus on making sure that small women-owned, minority-owned entrepreneurs in literally any business that can find themselves in a traditional category or set aside somehow, some way. I love to work with them. I love to help them, especially those that are in the service-related industries, because that's an industry I came from. I spent the first 15 years of my career as a financial advisor. I worked for several different companies, and I sold pretty much every financial product you can imagine. Anything that requires a license for somebody to sell, pretty much I was a part of that. And it was really important to me because it helped me sort of round out some of the ideas we're going to discuss with you today. And we'll get to that a little bit later, but it was just important for me to learn what it took to be a high quality entrepreneur. And as I rounded out the end of my financial services career, I worked more and more for business owners. And I found myself helping them to really deal with a different kind of asset, and that asset class was their business. How do you create value in a business, a service business? How do you make sure that you have something tangible that you can share, that you can multiply, that you can spread, that you can use, and that you can use as a creation, in the creation aspect for yourself and your very life, right? Again, we're going to talk a lot about that today. We're going to go a lot into detail about what business is and what it is not through the lens of your vision. And how do you communicate that vision effectively? How do you engage with people with that vision? How do you leverage that vision? And how do you create more with the vision that you're able to adopt? And so, without further ado, we're going to take a brief break, and we're going to come right back and start it again. Remember, if you need to, you can always type any information that you want in the chat. You can let me know about that, and I'll try to engage with you as much as possible in that area. Also, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube or Facebook, feel free to like or subscribe to the channel. And the more subscribers we get, the more likes we get, the more credibility we have in the space, and the more we can do to market and create more programs. So for that will help entrepreneurs and business leaders. Having said that, let's watch a little brief video and we will come right back. Okay, guys, welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. Today's episode is going to be super special because it marks the first episode of the month of August, and the month of August happens to be Black Business Month. This is the month where we celebrate and honor the history and legacy of African Americans in business, and there's a lot of them, so we're not going to discuss all of them, but we're going to pick and choose one per month, one per week actually, through the month of August that are special, that we think we need to highlight and talk about. So the first person we're going to talk about, the person we're going to highlight this month, before we get into our topic, which is the first of the 5 essential elements of the True Voice process, which is understanding and articulating vision. We're talking about Booker T. Washington today, and what Booker T. Washington brought to the business universe, and what he brought specifically to my family, which has some different things. As we're doing that, if you're having any thoughts or ideas that you want to share, feel free to put that information in the chat. Again, if you want to contact me, if you want to find out any information about me, the scroll is coming through on the bottom of your screen. You can see everything. And this is the program that I've been doing now for nearly 20 years, and I've had a great time working with entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals of all types. And let's make sure that we have a great show. Let's get started right off the bat. I'm going to go ahead and post some information about one of my favorite organizations that was started and founded by Mr. Booker T. Washington, and that is the National Business League. They are in a process right now, as I understand, of revamping and redeveloping themselves, and they're changing into even a better service organization that is doing so much for the African American business community. And so we want to make sure we promote them as much as possible. Their information is right there in the chat. It should be coming through on both Facebook and YouTube right now. So you can take a look at any of the links there, and make sure that you can detail information about the National Business League is there. Now, the National Business League started out to be the National Negro Business League that was founded by Booker T. Washington, again in August 23rd of 1900. Maybe that's a good reason, probably why they chose August to be the National Black Business Month. It was founded in Boston, Massachusetts, as the nation's first and oldest business organization. There were 12 years before the U.S. Chamber of Commerce came into formation, and the National Negro Business League was formally incorporated in 1901 in New York City. Today, they have offices in at least 5 different cities, including the Washington Metropolitan office. And it's great to know that they exist. It's great to know that, no matter what the changes have been, that they've been able to hold fast and hold steady to their original values, which was to increase the economic viability and sustainability of entrepreneurship in America for African Americans, which is pretty cool as far as I'm concerned. Now, I happen to bump into Booker T. Washington in several aspects of my life. First, I read Up From Slavery, which is his book. This is just one of the versions of the copies of his book. I read this probably, I'm going to go back to high school when I first read it. And then I had to read it again as a student at Kent State University studying Pan-African Studies, and I had to read it. It was like part of one of our Black Experience classes I had to take, and as a part of my degree process, I had to make sure that I understood the thoughts and ideas of Booker T. Washington. And I found it very interesting at that time of how Washington, as opposed to Du Bois, who really thought that African Americans should really get a hold of economic opportunities before they dealt with anything related to the social ideas coming out of slavery. He thought that it was very important that we learn, the communities of the time learn how to drive agriculture and how to drive manufacturing, and how to participate and make sure that there were stores and there were businesses and there were real economically viable entities that exist that did not need assistance from any place else. They weren't looking for government handouts. They weren't looking for anything. They did receive a lot of support from the entrepreneurial community at the time, and specifically one of the key supporters of Washington at the time were the founders of Sears and Roebuck. One of the Sears Roebuck founders literally helped Washington create more than 600 schools for individual schools for African American citizens who had formerly been slaves in America all over the South, and some of them in the North as well. And these schools, these Sears schools, were one of them was founded by my great grandfather, and it's amazing to me that he had to work with Booker T. Washington and had to receive a grant from his organization through the Sears and Roebuck organization, as well as the contributions from the local population to create the school, to build the school, to put the land aside, and to get that opportunity going. And that happened. And it's very cool that there's a school, the Powell School, was named and formed in Southern Virginia, Emporia, Virginia. And my great-great-grandfather is the founder of that institution, which is pretty cool. It doesn't exist anymore as a school, but it's interesting to know that my family was a part of educating the masses of African Americans from the South during that time, and it was great. Booker T. Washington was a part of that process. So my family was a family of teachers and entrepreneurs, and have always been from the beginning. And so here we are now, and moving on and continuing that tradition. So it feels good to be connected to that tradition in Black business history, and connected to Black Business Month in this way. I thought that they had named this month for Frederick Douglass, and I realized it probably was having to do more with what Washington did with the National Negro Business League. And so for anybody, again, have any questions about the National Negro Business League, you can always go to their website and find out more. Today's topic is about vision, and more importantly, it's part of the TrueVOICE process. I got to tell you a little bit about the TrueVOICE process before I get into business. If you can go back and watch last week's episode where I give a deep dive and an overview of the entire TrueVOICE process, that'll be helpful to you if you really want to get into it. We're also going to post some information about the TrueVOICE process. I got a surprise for you a little bit later on. So if you can remind me, those of you who remember, that I will definitely do that. I'm going to post sort of what I call the TrueVOICE interview document that's here on my Google Drive. So you have complete and total access to that. I'm not going to hold anything back from you or anything like that. This is really what the whole entire TrueVOICE process began as. Let me get the link here, and then let me go ahead and put that in the chat. Booyah. There we go. So you should be able to take that link right from the chat and pop it into whatever you want. And there it is again. There's a link. You should be able to grab it from the chat. You should be able to pull it up on your hard drive and take a look at it. If you look at it, you're going to see that the True Voice interview process, and it's set up to be a document that you could use to have a communication or to talk to someone so that you can really get an idea of what it is they're trying to bring to the universe, who they're trying to be, what they're trying to say, what it means to them. And I love these vision questions. So we're going to go over the vision questions, right? We're going to go over some of my answers, my personal answers to the vision questions. So you have an example of what they're going to do. And then we're going to go really deep about, what vision is, what it can be, how you can share it, some of the famous quotes that you can have about vision. And again, anytime you have any thoughts or ideas that you want to pop into the chat, go right ahead and share that information. And again, I will try to publish that information, try to give you a bit of a shout out, but we're trying to look for engagement, right? So if you want opportunities to engage with the audience, then you're going to have to step up and put some information in the chat. So that'll let me know that you're out there and that you're paying attention and that you're engaged with whatever we're talking about. Okay, so let's get into it. The first part of the True Voice confidential interview is about vision. The reason why I created True Voice in the first place is I realized that as I was going about networking and learning how to network and growing my networks, I started to realize that people had a hard time, really. I know personally I had a hard time trusting other individuals, and I needed information from other individuals in order for me to trust them, in order for me to then share whatever resources that I may have and feel comfortable doing so. Because most people who were networking were just talking about stuff that really wasn't helping me develop trust with them. And so I developed this acronym called True Voice in order for me to maximize the time it took for me to develop trust. Now I realize over a period of time, I began to understand that answering those questions, the same questions that I would ask of someone else for myself, helped me develop and articulate the language that I needed to develop and articulate in order to gain the trust of others. So it's very, very important. This True Voice process is very, very important, not just for interviewing someone else or trying to begin to understand someone else, but it's very, very important to begin to put together the language required to articulate, to write, and to communicate your own voice. What is it that you're trying to say? What is it that you're trying to communicate to the universe? And I find that we'll prove this over and over again over the next couple of weeks, but you'll find that when you can articulate really well what it is your vision is, and vision has two aspects that we're going to talk about, right? It's that this aspect, one aspect is of destiny, and the other aspect is of destination. If you can share your vision well enough to yourself and to others, then what happens is people they get a glimpse of where you're going. They get a glimpse of what you're about. They get a glimpse of, where you might be headed. And they also begin to get excited about it. They get to see where they might fit into the picture. They get to kind of place themselves inside your vision. And in doing so, they start to feel like they can connect to you at a deeper, higher level. And the better you get at articulating this vision, the easier that process becomes. So let's get into some of the questions we ask and why we ask those questions. So question number one, we ask in the Vision Quest process, or the True Voice process. Vision Quest is another process I wrote. I'm heavily involved in vision, by the way. You'll be able to see that if you know me about that. I'm all about the vision. So the first question we ask in the True Voice process is, if you had unlimited access to money and time, meaning you have all the money and all the time that you need, what would you be doing differently in your life? If you had unlimited access to money and time, meaning there's no way to run out. It is impossible to run out. Now, that's an impossible scenario, but we want you to think in those impossibilities when you talk about the grandness of your vision, right? We want you to believe or begin to understand that, the limitations that you place on yourself affect how you view your future. And if you can release those limitations, meaning you could do anything, you could be anything, you could accomplish anything with whatever, there's no amount of time, there's no amount of effort, there's nothing that can stop you. What is it you would do? What contribution would you make? What would you be doing differently in your life? That's question number one. Super important question. If you got some thoughts or ideas about any of that in the chat, if you got like maybe one or two, maybe three ideas that you think you could do, go ahead and place them in the chat. That might be something we could talk about, something that we could use, something that you could use to reflect on, and share ideas with others and help them kind of open up their minds and their thoughts. Generally, what happens when I ask this question, and I've done a couple thousand of these interviews, by the way, generally when I ask a question like this to another person, they start talking about earth-shattering, global changing type of ideas and concepts. They really start to leave themselves and start to realize that, if they had unlimited potential, godlike potential, they would change some very aspects of existence, that they know of, to make the world a better place. It could be global warming. They would reverse that situation, or it could be, feeding the homeless, and they would make sure that, there's no such thing as hunger anymore. They would eradicate hunger. They would eradicate global warming. They would eradicate, some of the issues that seem to plague our society. I would guess, and I haven't done these in a while, but I would guess people go, you know what, I would just get rid of the pandemic, and make sure that didn't exist anymore. And I would, fund everything, every research opportunity I possibly could. And I would, work with every professional I possibly could to make sure that we eradicated this thing. Those are the types of questions or answers that people have when you start asking question number one, generally. Number two, here's question number two. If you were to see your doctor for your annual checkup, and at the end, the doctor told you that he had good news and bad news. The good news is you're going to be healthy, vibrant, and just super good for the next 5 to 10 years. Nothing's going to happen to you. However, the bad news is somewhere between year 5 and year 10, you're definitely a goner. You're going to get sick, and you're going to die immediately. You're not going to linger. Somewhere between year 5 and year 10, you're gone. Bye-bye. What would you do differently in your life if you had the choice? Now, all of a sudden, the limitation of time appears in this vision questionnaire we're doing, right? So if you only had 5 to 10 years, and somewhere between year 5 and year 10, you don't know what year it is, you're definitely gone. It means you got till now, in the first 5 years, the next 5 years, right, to make whatever you want to have happen, based on whatever capacities that you could develop between now and then. That is what you have. Now people start to really, really kind of tone down the limitless possibilities and start to move into the realm of even more reality, start to really sink their vision a little bit. And they start to really come down to, okay, if I just had 5 years to do stuff or be stuff or create stuff, what would I do? And they automatically think about, how do I maximize what I currently have, the relationships I currently have, the tools I currently have, and they come up with things like, I'll take my family on a vacation, or I'll make sure that, I have all of my ducks in a row, so to speak, and I have my funeral plans worked out, and I have blah, 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 blah. If you have some ideas that you want to share with us, that you think that are useful and meaningful, do me a favor, put them in the chat. Let's talk about them. Let's cook our noodles around it and see what we can come up with that might be vibrant for yourself or even for other people. Don't think that, again, if you want to share them with me personally, if you want to share them with, the listening audience, that's fine too. But it'll help you to put that information out there, to help you to get it out of your head and put it down on paper. So if you got a minute, go ahead and type what you're thinking into the system, and we'll go from there. The third question, number 3, if you had just 24 hours to live, what would you regret that you haven't done in your life? I love this question because this question really, really keeps it real, because it makes you have to do the assessment. It makes you have to think through, where you really are right now, and are you where you want to be? And what are the things that you wish you could do or couldn't, or had done already, because, you don't have any more time. You're out. You're done. That's it. Tomorrow, this time, you're not going to wake up. What are you thinking that would have been really significant to have done in your life that you wish you could have gotten around to? right? And now what typically we do in number 4 is I'll take the person that I'm interviewing and I'll say, okay, all these ideas that you've mentioned right now, do me a favor and tell me which ones are the most important, which ones deliver the best opportunities for you, which ones create the most possibilities for you, which ones you go ahead and prioritize them for me so that we can then see what they're all about and begin to order them. Some people will come up with, I would say, maybe 3 to 5 ideas in each of the previous 3 categories. So they got 15 ideas sometimes to sort through. And so we'll go through and create a scenario where, they'll then be able to prioritize those ideas. This is critically important to the process, but we're going to get into a little bit more of that next week as we begin to discuss this. Now, for those of you who are hanging with me for the entire series, you're also going to get the advanced write-up of what I'm working on right now, and I'm doing some deep research on vision and some different things. But I want to make sure that I tell you some of the things that I came up with. To question number 1, I take a 3-month-long trip to Africa with my whole family, or I spend a month on each of the major continents. I teach professional racquetball or tennis, at a professional level. Right now, I teach at beginners or moderate level, but I'm not certified to get to the advanced level. But I will go ahead and make sure I got that certification so that I could teach professional racquetball. I learned to play saxophone really, really well. I try to become the best lover on the planet, and I get my PhD. Those are my answers to question number 1. My answers to question number 2 is, if the doctor told me I only had, 5 to 10 years to go, I would spend a lot more time with my family. I'd write my autobiography. I would take some great vacations. Maybe I wouldn't go to Africa for 3 months at a time, but I would definitely take some great vacations. I'd write a book of wisdom that I got from all of my elders. I would look at some of the things that I have, some of the quotes and some of the sayings that I've gotten from my elders, and I put them down and record a book about them. And then I take about a $5 million life insurance policy, right? I make sure I got that done. If I'm going to be healthy now, right? So I'm not going to, and I got the 5 years to go, so we're good to go. That'd be great to always get life insurance, by the way, while you're healthy. Get it when you can get it, but definitely get it while you're healthy if you can, from a financial point of view, because it'll be a lot less expensive. All right, I make Coach Powell a nationally successful brand. This is answers to question number 3. I would create a fund for kids, my daughter's education and business. I would endow the Centerville Community Foundation. I was a chairman when I first did this, of the Community Foundation. And I would turn Kimberly into a stark raving fanatic about me if I just had 24 hours to live. I don't know if I could do all that in 24 hours. I don't know what I was thinking when I answered the question, but anyway, that's what I wrote down. And then on question number 4, I said that I would, these are things that I regret that I haven't done already. That's what it is. Yeah, right. Those are good answers. And number 4, I would say, so if I said, when I prioritize all those ideas, right? My top 3 ideas were take Coach Powell National. I'm on my way towards that right now. Funding my daughter's education completely. That's almost done. And then I would endow the Community Foundation, which it doesn't exist anymore. So I probably would change that had I did that same interview for myself. But what it did for me to be able to really, really articulate my vision, it really helped me start to set goals and really helped me start to set some intention in some direction that I could move. And I felt a call or pull towards doing some amazing things that I began to get intrinsically motivated about that. And when I say intrinsic motivation, I think it's very, very important to sort of break down kind of what that means. A lot of us are motivated to do amazing things, but we're not necessarily motivated from our own devices. Maybe we're motivated because somebody else, held a carrot or some sticks out there for us. And that might work, by the way, in the short term. If we're trying to do something that's very task oriented, it's a short term, and we need some motivation to go there, a good reward might be useful. But studies show, and this is from my buddy Dan Pink, I'll give credit where credit is due. He's been studying motivation for a long time, and he writes about this quite extensively. It doesn't do, you're not going to be able to, long term, if you have to sustain an effort for a long period of time over something that's not as specific, or it's kind of fuzzy, or not really even tangible in the short term, very difficult for you to sustain motivation on that if it's not intrinsically motivated. So you have to learn how to create and dig up and start to generate intrinsic motivation for your long-term ideas. Vision is one of those things. If you really learn to do it well, you will begin to come up with the articulation that you need to even tell yourself what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, where you're going with it, what it means to you. The more you can start to think through and evaluate and articulate those ideas, and then share them with others and get the feedback on them and continue that process of growing, you're going to find that your vision helps maintain and sustain your intrinsic motivation, right? This is something that you bring from within yourself, versus your extrinsic motivation, means somebody else has offered you something or promised you something or scared you with something, right? That motivates you to act. Again, intrinsic motivation is there for the long term. Extrinsic motivation is there for the short term, and you need to know how to create more and more intrinsic motivation, because it always works better. It works better. It sustains longer. It increases your resilience and allows you to do phenomenal things for a lot longer. Again, if you want to have a copy of the True Voice process yourself, you can download it from the information that I shared with you in the chat. I shared with you both in Facebook and on YouTube, so you should be able to get that. And let's go a little deeper. When we talk about vision, what is it really that's important to say about vision, and how do we use it to move ourselves forward? Well, I took a deep dive into some of what the Bible says about vision, and the ancient texts, all the ancient wisdom texts kind of pull from the same sources, from the Greek, the Latin, and all that kind of good stuff. So you're going to find that the Bible has a lot of stuff in there. I'm going to share with you a couple ideas, some quotes, and some ideas from that. I'm also going to share with you some ideas about vision from your current, more current authors and writers who are out there talking about vision, who have said some amazing things that I've keyed on that I want to share and stress with you. But the first I want to get into kind of a concept I want you to consider, that everything that you do, everything that you are, everything that you have right now, everything that you represent right now has a future trajectory, right? And that future trajectory is either decided and defined by your activities, or it's actually a conglomeration of your activities and the activities of others, right? And so the more you can create more energy towards those activities that you decide are very valuable, the more your vision can take shape, the more your vision can progress and move forward, the more strength and power you have for your vision, right? So it's all about really creating the language and articulating that language in such a way that you influence others to begin to buy into your vision, and to invest in your vision, and to create a future vision that is valuable, right? So I want you to consider, just like you would the future value of money. If you're an economist or financier, you'll be talking about what the future value of money might be. The future value of your vision. Think about your vision. If it has value now, and it grows and it moves forward in the future, it may have a trajectory, right? Some type of point at some point of view in the future where it has even deeper, more meaningful value, right? So when you think about what your vision is, right, and what the characteristics or the sort of the prime directives that underneath of a vision. A vision is always what is that you will be able to be, do, and have. It's these three categories, these three things: what you will be able to be, what you'll be able to do, and what you'll be able to have at some point in the future that you can't or you don't right now. So we can break this down from a developmental point of view and begin to understand that your being, your doing, and your having will be informed by the quality and your ability to articulate and influence people, others, with your vision. So you got to think that through. What are you saying when you're saying anything? When you're talking, when you're communicating to other people, what are you communicating? Right? So when you think about vision or the future growth trajectory of all that you are, all that you will do, and everything that you have today, that is the future value of your vision. The future value of your vision. And you can write it out in an equation if you want. For giggles, I kind of put math to kind of emotional and spiritual things sometimes. And so the future value of vision equals your being, your doing, your having times the rate of growth that you may have and that you experience. Now, if you understand that this value, whatever this value that you have is, it has a future value. Now, what can you do with something, an asset, or any other thing that has a value in the future and you know you're going to be able to get that value? What can you do with it? You can leverage it. You can leverage it for something valuable today, because at some point in time, that future thing is going to have a value as well. You understand what I'm saying? And so think about it like your house may appreciate in value. So you can take a mortgage out on that house, and people know that you're going to pay for that, and it's going to have a value even if you don't pay for it in the future. That can be leveraged. So they can give you the money now to go ahead and buy the house because they know the house over time is going to be worth more than it is right now. Think about that. Your vision is the same way. Your vision currently, your vision is a collection of your future opportunities. It's a collection of your future being, your future doing, your future having. And so think about it. If you can wrap your mind around that, if you can wrap your arms around your future being, your future doing, your future having, then you could come up with a future vision that has value that you can articulate to others. And others are going to want to jump on board. They're going to go with you. Let's talk about being, right? When we say being, what are we talking about? We're talking about existence, right? We're talking about the nature, the essence of who you are. What is it that you are now, and what is it that you will be in your future? Every living thing is a being, right? And you are a human being, to be understood and identified in the present reality as possessing the singular aspects of humanity, which is that you have a heart, a mind, a body, and a soul. Those are the characteristics of your being. That's what makes you you. Your heart, your body, your mind, and your soul. To the extent that those four aspects of the you, called the you-ness of you, right? The being of you, are strong, you exist in those four areas, right? Your existence is tied to those four areas of you. If you can grow those areas, anytime you experience growth in your heart, your mind, your body, your soul, anytime you get more integrity in those areas, anytime you have more resilience in those areas, anytime you have more fortitude in those areas, that process of moving from where you are now in terms of those areas and where you can be in the future in terms of those areas is called development, right? You develop your heart, you develop your mind, you develop your body, you develop your spirit so that you can be more than you are today. Yes, you can be more. Yes, you are born and you exist, but you can be more. To be more, you have to develop. So we got to talk about the process of development, right? This is my life. This is what I love to do, helping people develop themselves into stronger, more viable entities, business leaders, entrepreneurs, people that can do and have more because they simply are more. The effort and the activity that is required, the engagement that is required in order for you to grow in all four aspects of your being requires struggle, challenge, sometimes pain, and always endurance. You have to experience these things in order to grow in every aspect. How do you struggle for how do you add resistance to your physical being, right? You have to work out. You become stronger. You have to practice whatever it is your craft is. You become stronger. You have to improve your skills by studying, but more importantly, by experiencing what you're doing. You have to put the time in, the effort in, the investment of time into being better at whatever it is you do. And physically, you will be better. You will have muscle memory. You will have growth in that area. If you don't put the time into the development of whatever it is, your skills, your talents, your capabilities, and your physical being, then you won't be stronger in that category. Same thing with every other aspect. If you don't put the time, effort, and energy into recovery, into reflection, into prayer, into meditation, then you may not have the spiritual or the mental facility growth that you need to have in order to be stronger in those areas. You've got to be, you've got to study, you've got to attain and achieve new levels of knowledge, deeper levels of knowledge. In order to do that, it means you got to put, again, the work, the effort into growth in those areas. You want to become closer spiritual, you want to become more connected to the universe in the existential matters, then you're going to have to study, you're going to have to research, you're going to have to reflect, you're going to have to practice gratitude, you're going to have to really understand what grace and connection to other beings is all about, which again is going to improve what? Your heart, your relationships. You can't improve that heart muscle by not getting in relationships with other people. You got to get into relationships, and you got to stretch those muscles, and you got to improve those areas, or you're not going to be what you want to be. You're not going to improve in those areas that you need to improve in. That's going to make you endearing to other people, learn how to serve other people, learn how to connect to other people, drive those connections in a way where people will feel themselves grow because of being with you in your growth, right? And there's a mutuality there, and there's a law of reciprocity there that I cannot tell you is irrelevant. It is super relevant, and it's important that you understand that if you're going to have a vision of yourself growing, then you must be growing in those four areas. If you grow in one area over another, you will have an imbalance in one area, and you will make yourself suffer in other areas because you have imbalance. So to have alignment truly in your being, in your growth, you must have some vision of how you're going to grow your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul, all separately, but working collectively together to being more you, to be more. So you can be more, right? How do you do more? Well, you got to be more to do more. Because when you be more, all of a sudden what you're doing is you're increasing your capacity. You're increasing your capacity to learn, grow, develop, right? And as you increase your capacity to learn, grow, develop, organize, strategize, all that kind of stuff, you'll find yourself being able to be more effective and more efficient in everything you do, right? You'll find yourself being able to focus more. You'll find yourself being able to generate more energy with others and yourself to accomplish more. And you'll do more. Because you can't, but you can't do more if you don't have more tools to work with. If you don't have more people to work with, more relationships to work with, more intestinal fortitude, more strength in your own, you can't do more. But you're going to be able to do more because you'll be more. Now, how do you have more? You have more by doing more. The more you do, the more you generate, the more you give, the more you contribute, the more you get in return. It's the law of the universe, right? The more you are able to demonstrate value to others who appreciate that value, who roll along with you, who will partner up with you, collaborate with you to increase what you're able to do, then you're going to generate more, you're going to make more contribution, and you're going to be able to have more. Everybody understand how that works? And so, growing in all four of those areas help you grow in your vision. And being able to work well in those four areas help you accumulate and become more confident that you can do the things that you say you can do. Others will be able to trust you. Others will be able to make that investment in you, which brings me to the next aspect of the future value of your vision. If everybody knows that you're going someplace, if everybody believes, everybody who has the capacity to contribute somehow to where you're going, if they believe you, they have faith in you, they understand you, they want to go with you, then they're going to make a contribution to you. They're going to make a contribution of their resources. Their resources are time, talent, and treasure. Whatever resources they have to help you become who you're going to become, they would love to share with you for two reasons. One, the fun of doing it, right? And the fun of doing it is wrapped around the keys that I always tell you guys all the time. We all want to be more. We all want to do more. We all want to be more relevant. We all want to be more meaningful. We all want to have individual and distinct contribution into the forefront of human history. And the only way for us to do that is to share and give to one another. That's how it works. I didn't create the code. I'm just reporting it to you. So you need to understand that when we're talking about vision, and we're talking about what you can do with vision and how you can use vision, you need to understand that a part of this is attracting the resources, the time, the talent, and treasure that others have to share with you. And then sharing your time, your talent, and your treasure with others whom you've been attracted to share. And how do you cause that attraction? By sharing your vision, by making sure that you have the words, the well-written, articulated vision that says, here is where I'm going. Now, it's not going to take you too long to begin to understand that you can have a vision for every role that you have in your life. You can have a vision for every aspect of your being, right? Your time, your heart, your mind, your body, your soul. You can have a vision for every role that you play. For me, I have a vision as a father. I have a vision as a husband. I have a vision as an entrepreneur, a business leader, a man about the community. I have visions for all these things. And I have 5, 10, 20-year visions. And I have, 30-year visions if I'm blessed to live that long, right? So it's very, very important that, you don't limit vision, to what you think is reality, because that's a different thing. But once you do it well, you'll find that vision is something that energizes your goals. Vision is something that gives you the qualifications necessary to even achieve the necessary goals along the route, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. I'm going to read this to you, and I'm hoping that it's going to make sense to you, because it does to me, but hopefully it'll make sense to you. Everyone needs to have dreams, and your dreams kind of help you create a sense of destiny and fulfillment, right? When people can visualize the concept of their future reality, it becomes easier to chart a course to get them there. Once you start having an idea of what your vision is, it becomes easier for you to start to put together the pieces needed to get you there. And at least you know which direction you're heading. Even if you haven't worked out why or how, you might know what directions you're heading. Sometimes your vision requires a revelation and foresight. And sometimes it's just about making choices and being disciplined enough to follow where the choices that you already have made lead you. We need to have the ability to use our imagination and wisdom to think about and plan a future for ourselves. Then we can have the capacity, the capability, and the resources required to execute it all. From the great poets, philosophers, and literary giants, we learn that vision is one of the most important tools to help everyone grow and progress. Entrepreneurs and leaders of all kinds must learn to use what we call their third eye to tap into their inner strength and to bring out the best in themselves and their teams. Vision, when it's done correctly, helps everyone to connect to the universe and find the foundational truths that life itself is built on. It's how humans have always understood and communicated their special powers and their self-belief. By looking inside to the vision that inspires you, we see what is not and discover amazing techniques and strategies to move ourselves and our society forward. When we reach back into the ancient text of the Bible, we see that a well-written and articulated vision is critical to developing the patience it takes to create new relationships and connections and to use those to our sense of destiny and righteous principles to drive hope. We learn to do the right things and not just live our dreams, but to become them in the most courageous of ways. And finally, we increase our discernment, our decision making, so that we can take advantage of the right opportunities at the right time. There are so many different ways to get to this stuff, right? I've got some links in the document that I'm going to share with you all at a later date that'll help you really create and explore and inspire with your vision. But I want to give you some tools today to begin to work with. When you think about the power of vision and what your vision can do, I can't help but wonder, if you understand what it's really all about. Because, when it's working really well, there's a couple things that really happen. You get to tap your inner strength, right? You get to fulfill your destiny and achieve your dreams by tapping into your vision. There's a quote from Roy Bennett, which is probably the most popular quote out there when it comes to vision. Bennett says, "Live the life of your dreams. Be brave enough to live the life of your dreams according to your vision and purpose instead of the expectations and opinions of others." In this quote, he has said a mouthful. Are you living for you? Are you living for what your purposes are? Are you living according to your vision and how you see your life unfolding? Or are you doing it for others? If you're doing it for others, you have to ask yourself, and I have to ask myself, I do that all the time, is it worth it? How much of a sacrifice of my vision, how much of a sacrifice of my purpose and the reason I think I'm here am I going to make in the pursuit of someone else's? And how am I going to increase the value of my vision if I'm not tapping into my own? There's a couple beliefs that I have, and one of them is that we all have special gifts, and those gifts are verified by the feedback that we receive from others. But we don't receive that feedback if we're not actually engaging, if we're not actually communicating, if we're not actually working together, if we're not trying to collaborate. We cannot get to a point where we're growing, where we're actually we're growing and we can validate our growth. We can grow without it, but it's hard to know that we have the special gifts that we have if we don't engage with others. I'm going to make a suggestion for you in terms of exercises. During your time of peaceful reflection, start to capture the answers to some of the most important questions that you could ever ask yourself in your journal or in your mindfulness practice, whatever it is that you're doing to capture your thoughts and ideas. You're going to want to write these down. Okay? Think about these questions. When you're not around, what do you believe that others would say are your most positive attributes? What would they tell you you're good at? What would they tell you you're golden at? What would they tell you we can trust you for all the time? And I don't want you to think about just any old random others. I want you to think about the stakeholders, the referral sources, the supporters who have the capacity to literally drive more resources to you, more time, more talent, more treasure to you, more connections from other people, right? Which is a part of treasure. Think about that. What will people say that you're so good at that they will be willing to share their resources with you in the pursuit of improving and getting better at that thing? Question number 2, what can you do to strengthen the traits that you have, that you've identified, and who would benefit most from having access to your talents, to your treasure, to the things that you've been able to achieve and accomplish? Because if you can start to think about who could be beneficiaries for you, who could receive what your contributions are going to be, well, I mean, it could be stakeholders, again, could be referral sources, could be supporters, could be friends, could be associates, who really, really can benefit from your grace, who could benefit from your talent, who could benefit from your achievements, your resources. Now, it's not a requirement that they appreciate that, but it's useful for you if they do. So, because it helps you then know that you're being meaningful, relevant, and special, right? So it's very, very important when you think about these things, tapping into your inner strength, who's going to help you? Who's going to help you do that? Who's the people that can help you give the feedback that you need? Who are the people who can receive the benefit of your contribution and receive it well? Who are they? If you can identify those people and you can identify what your gifts are, then you can then figure out ways to match them up. It's much easier to do that than if you go, okay, I got gifts, but I don't know who's going to receive them. I'll just start showing up for everybody. You can't. You literally don't have the capacity to show up for everybody. So how do you then exercise your special power? How do you actualize your special power? Audre Lorde said a quote. I love this quote. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. So the thing that stops people from actually, once they've identified who needs the benefit from what the gifts they have to offer, and they understand the value of the gifts they have to offer, it's hard for them to make that connection if they're now scared, right? So you have to build a confidence, right? You got to get over your fear. You got to get over your doubt, your hesitation, and all that kind of stuff, so that you can really go at it, so you can really focus your efforts on what you need to do. So these exercises are called stepping into the light, right? Embracing the gifts that you have and being able to step into the light. So now you've identified who may depend on your gifts, your talents, and your abilities right now, right? So what you need to do now is you need to have a conversation with them about how you might reach and expand, with their help, others. That's what you do. You have to have a conversation. Back to true voice in the beginning, right? If you haven't worked out how to articulate all the things that you're thinking in a meaningful, powerful, positive way, then you're going to have a conversation and you're going to need to support you, but won't, because they literally won't be excited about working with you. In fact, they'll have more doubts and they'll have more fears than they had before you stepped into the room and start unloading them with your ideas that aren't that may be sort of half-baked or not really fully fleshed out. Maybe you don't even believe in them. You believe in them yourselves because you haven't gotten the feedback, you haven't gotten any of the validation you need to get. You're not really confident in it. Now, it is possible, I will tell you, it is possible to start talking to somebody, being fully confident in what you can do, and still not be able to convince them. I would suggest a couple of things probably wrong there. You probably are talking to the right people about the right thing at the right time. It doesn't matter that you're confident. If you haven't found the right people to share that with, then they're going to do what they can to ruin your confidence, right? So you're going to find yourself dealing with rejection. You're going to find yourself dealing with people who are going to be naysayers. They're going to be like, no, you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. You haven't fully fleshed this idea yet out. You haven't really kind of worked it out with people that can support you. And so it's not going to fly because you haven't tested it, right? Very, very important. Sometimes your associates and friends who don't know you, that have grown they don't know you've grown in certain areas, and they can use an update from you. This is a good way for you to do that. If you already established that I know what I'm doing, I know what my inner strengths are, I know who I should be doing them for, you should now go back and contact the people, all that haven't seen you in a while, people you haven't talked to in a while, people that you know have the ability to move the needle for you somehow, some way. You should go back and talk to them again. You should have and do this in conjunction with the exercises we talked about above. Make sure that you get the TrueVOICE interview, get them going into the TrueVOICE interview. Share with them what you reveal about yourself, but also show an interest in them using the interview tactic, using interview practice to show an interest in them. The TrueVOICE process, using just the vision process alone, can help you tap into your belief of yourself. It will help you to begin to come up with the language again to become your own best cheerleader. It'll help you strengthen your self-concept. It'll help you strengthen your confidence, and it'll give you insight into your character and what it is that you bring to the table that maybe you didn't recognize before you started doing the process, that you do bring to the table. It'll help you start to add some discipline to your planning, your practice, your recovery time. It'll give you more purpose, so that you can do the things that you need to do more consistently. It's critically important that you use it. A couple exercises that you might want to think about doing is sort of answer these questions. Question number 1, how much change do you need to do to experience to feel like a winner in whatever area you're talking about? I will go back to just basically from a physical point of view. What would you need to do to feel like a winner? From a mental point of view, from a spiritual point of view, from a relationship point of view, a heart point of view. What would you need to do to feel like a winner that you're not doing now, right? What would you be able to be, do, and have that you can't now if you were able to make the gains in those areas that we just talked about? Who are the stakeholders in your life or the business partners that might be great accountability partners for you so you can correct the habits that you need to correct along the way towards achieving the things that you want to achieve and the growth that you want to achieve in your personal and professional development? This is all relevant and it's all super special. And, I go into great detail in the studies that I'm working with right now that I'm going to, again, I capitalize on a lot of different things. Here's one of my favorite quotes that I want to share with you when it comes to using your vision to tap into foundational truth. Nietzsche says, Friedrich Nietzsche says, the visionary lies to himself, and the liar, I don't know how to do this. The visionary lies to himself, and the liar only to others. So think about what's really being said here. When you are a true visionary, you can, be so out there with your vision that you're not being realistic, and you're lying to yourself. And the only person that's really going to be motivated by that kind of visionary idea is you. But when you could bring it down just a couple notches into the realm of reality that other people can see you doing and see you exercising and see you participating in, all of a sudden, now you got the gift of being able to influence others with your vision, and that influence feeling to them like it's a part of their destiny. It'll feel to them like they should be a part of your vision. And then you become a specialist in not just truth seeking, but in truth sharing. And you get that kind of credibility. I find that the deeper I get involved with my industry, the more I get involved with my industry peers, the more I start to articulate the rules and requirements of what we know as being good in our industry in terms of the kind of services that we deliver to our clients and customers. The more I articulate those things, the more I practice those things, the more I get known and seen as practicing those things, the more realistic the credibility and validation I get from other people. And the more people go, oh, okay, well, if Marvin comes up with something creative and something innovative, then it's already built on top of the rules and regulations that we already understand, the ethical mandates of our profession. We're going to support that because I'm already a proven entity within the industry. Does that make sense? Same thing for you and your industry. Same thing. So, go out and join your industry association, participate, engage, have discussions, dialogue, be a part of committees, do things to strengthen the organization in and of itself and the members of the organization. And you'll find that you're building credibility, not just for your clients, but for you. And you're developing a known expertise. And a known expertise then has value that you can leverage. Because people now, when you're a known entity, when you're a proven quantity, then people will then begin to trust you to do many things, even things that are outside of the scope of what you could do necessarily. So you have to be very careful about that. But it's very, very important that you develop that kind of credibility because, again, it goes back to your confidence. It goes back to, being aware of when and where you enter, so to speak. Einstein said, the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and all science. He to whom this emotion is a stranger can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe. He is as good as dead. His eyes are closed. Now, the genius of Einstein obviously far outdates me or anything I might bring to the table. But understand what Einstein is saying here is if your vision isn't good enough, isn't big enough, isn't as meaningful enough, then you need to go back to the drawing board. Because there's an awesomeness to it. There's a mysteriousness to it that is maybe difficult to understand, but impossible not to feel if you do it right. And if you do it right, you're going to start to set what I call arrival gate types of goals inside of your own vision. Because you'll know, in order for me to get to this vision that I have out in front of me, there's some things that I know that I have to do. There's some things I know that I have to become. There's some things I know that I have to do. There's some things I know that I have to have. I call these arrival gates. This is let me know that I'm on my path and I'm on the route to my vision. And I have to get through these gates. I have to go through these motions. I have to get through these different exercises. I have to overcome these obstacles. I have to use everything I have, my instincts, my commitments. I have to know what the environment's going to bring and understand how to mitigate the risk associated with it. I got to do all that. It becomes clearer, though, when I have a sense of destiny, when I have a sense of vision, I have a sense of placement in the future where I'm going. The road becomes clearer that I need to take. And I can articulate that road a lot better. And I can tell people what is in the way. And I can tell people what I need to do to get that thing out of the way or how I need to attack it to mitigate it. Because I already know what's on the other side of the obstacles that are my known obstacles. It's the unknown obstacles that may give me a problem. And that I may have to then be more resilient. I may have to bounce back and I may have to, look at a test. It might be a true test of my faith and my belief in what I think the vision is bringing me, right? There's a couple examples of third eye vision and how do you increase those, but I'm gonna let you read those on your own when you get a chance to take a look at this. One of my favorite Bible quotes reminds me of how important it is that you don't just have a vision, but that you write it down, right? You gotta write it down. You gotta make sure that you write it, you rewrite it, and then you write it again. This is from the book of, I always pronounce this wrong, Habakkuk in the Bible, chapter 2, verse 2. And the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. If you write your vision down, if you articulate it extremely well, you quicken the pace that you and everyone else can use to go at this vision, right? If it when it's written down, well articulated, it has a way of clarifying for other people. And you can duplicate that for the masses. So if you want a large group of people you have to motivate, large group of people that you have to keep going in the right direction, you're going to need to write this down. When you speak to them, you're going to need to speak it really, really well. But you got to write it before you speak it really, really well, right? So it's important that you do that. It provides clarity for your team. It helps you do amazing things. And I have a link here to the Vision Quest Planning questionnaire that, again, gives you the language of vision that you need to use to write it down and codify it so that you can begin to articulate it and create all types of programs and processes that you can share with other people that will help you do it. Another thing about aspects, I think, of vision that I got just from, again, reading the Bible, is that your vision kind of creates the time. This is another quote. This is chapter 3 of Habakkuk. I got to learn my Bible verses, my Bible chapters, right? For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. Even if it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. Something about vision is because it's out there in the future, because it's going to take a while, it's not necessarily going to be right there in your face right immediately. You're going to have to exercise a little bit of patience. And if the vision is strong enough, that patience is going to be easier for you to exercise. Because over time, it's going to happen. All you got to do is be diligent. All you got to do is be forthright. All you got to do is stay on the path and not get sidetracked. And if you do get sidetracked, you use your vision to get you back on the path. You get you and your people and all of the tools and resources and efforts that you are collecting to move toward that vision. And it can be there. And the thing that's going to be there without delay is the path, is the journey, is the effort that you're willing to make and that you're making. So continue to make the effort, continue to press forward, continue to use your activity trackers to measure your process. Break it down into smaller, bite-sized chunks that you can do on a daily, weekly, regular basis. Put it on your schedule of work activity. Get it, make it a part of your grind. Whatever it is you're doing every day, every week, every month, day in, day out. If you're not working on that as well as the things that other people are moving you towards, then you're losing a part of yourself every day. You're not working on your vision, because what you don't get back in terms of resources is time or missed opportunities for relationships necessarily. You don't necessarily get those back. So the time to strike, the time to do it, and time to take it seriously is now. The time that you need to do all those things, you don't have to be impatient. You don't have to be patient about the effort. You do have to be patient as to the achievement or the attaining of your vision, because that's going to happen, and it's going to get clear. You're going to get more clarity as you come closer and closer to the vision, and you're going to build energy as you get closer and closer. But it all requires effort, exercise, practice. And you got to keep doing it, and you keep going at it, and you cannot stop. If you stop, then you are retarding your own progress. And I will say that it's critically important that if this is your destiny, if this is your dream, if this is your largest hope for where you're trying to go, and you're not working towards it, then there's nobody to blame. There's no other fault but yours. And the last quote I'm going to give you from the Bible, and they're going to wrap it up for today, is the articulation of courage. It's important that you're able to articulate what you're thinking and what you're doing, and the levels of bravery and heroism you want to show for that thing, whatever it is you're going, wherever your vision is taking you. Here's the quote. And the Lord said to Paul one night in the vision, "Do not be afraid, but go on speaking, and do not be silent." You have to. You have to share your vision. You have to go out there. You have to go after it. Um, you can't keep it to yourself. If you keep it to yourself, you're robbing others. This is the thing I want to impart upon you. You're robbing others the opportunities to jump on board. You're robbing others of the opportunity to be relevant. You're robbing them of an opportunity to be meaningful or significant in whatever it is that you're doing. And but if you share it with them, you're actually empowering them to jump on board, to add their resources to your resources, to move this thing forward. And maybe they have talent or skills that you don't have. Maybe they have available resources that you don't have, connections that you don't have. But your sharing it allows them to know that those requirements are there and that they will be rewarded for helping you, getting on board with you. The last thing I'm going to say about that is the rewards of contribution are intrinsic. Right? We talked a little bit about intrinsic rewards. When you give, when you share with other people, what you have to share, the good news is you're sharing something that you already know is valuable. You don't even need validation for that. You already know it's valuable, right? And then you can share that with a level of confidence and caring and discernment that only you have, that's unique to you, right? So now in doing so, the more you do it, whatever you're sharing, the more you practice it, the better you get at it, the better you get at it, the more you want to share it. And it becomes a part of you and a part of your experience and a part of your value to others. You develop an expertise. And again, as you're doing that, you become more valuable. It's so critically important that you understand all the things that there is to understand about vision. If you do this really well, not only will you be able to make your dreams come true, you'll be able to help others make their dreams come true, even if it's inside of your dream, or even if they're with you just for a season. They'll feel empowered by the time they spend with you, and vice versa. And it's good for everybody. So get about writing down your vision, get about using your vision to empower each other, and it'll be important to you to move yourself forward and to keep things going. All right, that's what we're going to talk about today. That's all we got for today. If anybody has any ideas, thoughts, anything you want to add to the chat, feel free to do so. I'm going to make sure that if you have any entrepreneurs or business leaders out there that need a shout out, go ahead and put your information in the chat. Let me know who you are, how you found us, anything you got out of today's conversation that you want to share, feel free to do so. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and I hope that you will. As a process that for those of you who might be following me, that I used to use when I used to do this whole program on, I used to do it live at the local coffee shop. I used to do it live at the Panera Bread. And I'd have sometimes 20, 30 entrepreneurs sitting with me at a table. And we'd be discussing these things, and I would tell them at this point of our conversation that you cannot even stay with me if you don't ask me a question, because that's how I know that what we're sharing has meaning and value, because your question will help create in me the reason for our being and our existing today. So I'm going to say the same thing to you all who are out there following now. If you have a question, go ahead and put that question in the chat, whether you are following us live, or maybe you want to have me answer the question later on. I have no problems with that. I'll definitely do that. If you have a question you want to follow up with me, send me a text message or hit me up on my email. I think that's all here displayed in the scroll below. I look forward to engaging with you, look forward to talking to you. In fact, the special gift that I have for you all when all this entire series is done, today we just covered vision. Next week we're going to cover obstacles that are very, very important in the TrueVOICE process. I have a special gift for you. I'm creating a brand new training manual. It's going to be long. It's going to be deep. It might even be a book. Well, I'm going to give it to you for free. For those of you who pay attention, those of you who engage with me, I'll make sure you get a copy of it at the end. I'm also going to be giving tickets away to my upcoming event. I have an event that's going to go a deep dive into True Voice and what people who've experienced True Voice can share with those of you all to help you just kind of round out your experience. It's going to be in October. It's going to be on October the 9th. I have a conference that I'm going to be doing that's all about full day. We're going to go take a deep dive into True Voice and kind of talk to people's experiences, how they've used it in the past and what's really working for them. And other than that, we are really, really good. I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, let me put this information in the chat before I leave about the True Voice conference. Let's see if I can dig it up here, because sometimes I'm on my job and sometimes I'm a slacker. Looks like, yeah, we do have tickets on sale right now for those of you all who want to go ahead and lock in your seat. You're going to want to get on this conference like right away. Marvin, sometimes you know what you're doing and sometimes you don't. You know what, guys? I'm going to end the broadcast anyway as I'm looking for this. There it is. Finally, I found it. Okay. It's October 9th. It's going to be all day on a Saturday. I'm going to have tons of speakers. I'm going to have sponsors. I'm going to have tons of prizes and gifts. You're not going to want to miss this thing. This is super special, and I am really glad I was able to put together. This is going to be one of the biggest and best business conferences, virtual business conferences I've ever done. And so for those of you all who have participated in my conferences in the past, you know, you're going to see some updated stuff. And this is it. Here it is, the link. And I'm going to go ahead and post that in the chat for you guys to get to. Feel free to take a look at the conference. And if you're interested in being one of my sponsors, reach out to me. You're going to hit me with a text message or a phone call right away, because the sponsorships are super valuable. I'm giving away coaching packages. I'm giving away all kinds of books and tapes and all kinds of stuff that you're going to have for resources of your own professional development. And so let's make sure that we share that with as many people as possible. And we're going to have a great time. Okay, guys, again, have a great time. Looking forward to hanging out with you some more a little later on. This is Coffee Tea, you and me, signing off. Bye now.